January 19, 2021. So I will call this meeting to order. And Trina, if you would do a roll call.
Yes, Mayor Hill,
Here.
Commissioner Tankersley,
Here.
Commissioner Gormley,
Here.
Commissioner Fuchs,
Here.
and Commissioner Christensen will be a little bit late this evening.
Thank you, Trina, and welcome everyone. I'm going to turn some time over to Tom to take care of some commission business.
Yeah, this is not something I would like to announce, but Patrick is retiring from the commission after a long time of really valuable service. And I'm really going to miss him on about 8 different levels. Okay, first of all, personally, you know, Patrick is a good person to work with. He has the interests of the commission and the community at heart, and that makes a big difference. Second, Patrick is, you may have noticed, quite smart, and he brings that intelligence to the committee, to the commission, and I think the ratepayers really benefit from that. Equally important, unlike the rest of the commission, Patrick actually understands electricity, which has been invaluable over the years. And so, Patrick, I really appreciate your long service. I really appreciate what you brought to the commission, and we're really going to miss you. I understand, I'm going to put this on the record, that you have volunteered that if we need some help on a temporary brief basis, you would be willing to consider not coming back to the commission, but actually acting as a community resource for us. And as you know, and I'm not going to talk very much about the executive session meetings because I don't want to mess up the confidentiality, but in this recent last 4 or 5 years where we have focused we've focused on cybersecurity, your expertise has been invaluable. And my mantra has always been, if Patrick's happy on this subject, I'm happy. So Patrick, we are really going to miss you, and we really appreciate the chance to work with you and the chance to accomplish some things for the city and its citizens. So thank you very much, Patrick. Anybody else want to add something from the commission?
Yeah, Ed, would you like to go ahead? And
well, you know, this is kind of disappointing. I have the responsibility of having appointed him to the commission, and in his interview and pleadings with me, he never once mentioned about thinking about retiring. So I'm really disappointed. But Pat, having known you forever, you're a wonderful person. You got a great business sense. You know how to fly an airplane, all sorts of things, know about electricity. You are truly going to be missed, and I'm proud to have been the person that appointed you to this board. And you've been, McMinnville Water and Light is a better place because Pat Fuchs served on it, plain and simple.
Yes.
Thanks, Ed. Thanks, Tom. So, Mr. Mayor, am I allowed to respond, or? So it has been just an absolute pleasure to be associated with Water and Light, and I've been kind of closing out all my civic responsibilities, and this being on McMinnville Water and Light Commission has been certainly the most complex and the most fulfilling for me, which is why I'm closing this one out last. But I have to kind of come up with 2 observations over all the years that I've got to hang out with you guys. And the first one is for the chairman. It has been just really wonderful for me to observe Tom and how he responds and how he analyzes things. And I know he's a recovering attorney right now, but to be able to have that incredible analytic mind and to be able to deal with the minutia of these agreements and of things that come before the commission has always been something I've been very impressed with. And, sometimes when people would kind of try to mess with the commission, they would end up making a tactical mistake at some point. And so I would always be thinking, all right, bring the hammer down, Tom. You have them. They made their mistake. I want to watch. This is entertaining for me. But he always had that, responsibility and kindness. He's firm but kind. And so it's like people tried to mess with us, but he had the power and he had the intellect and the arguments to bring the hammer down, which would have excited me, but he never did because of his gracious nature. And so that's something that I kind of learned, that, just because you can, you don't, because it's not in the best interest of, being a kind human being and the best interest of, the commission necessarily. But that's something that I always got me excited. And then Tom would pull back. He'd be firm with him, but he'd be like, look, we're going to conduct ourselves professionally and reasonably. And so that is a lesson that I learned from Tom, and absolutely loved it. So then my next one would be a good friend, Ed. And so the encyclopedic memory of previous Mayor Gormley is epic in my mind, because there would be a certain thing that we would have to review or deal with or decide what the policy was going to be. And then it would always start with, Thomas, do you remember when? And that would always be the key phrase that I would listen for. And then I know two things would happen. One, I would learn about the history of McMinnville, which I would have no idea about. And two, I would always be worried, am I going to be able to link the lesson I'm going to learn from Ed to the topic at hand to be able to solve a particular problem? And so it sometimes was stressful, but his stories were fantastic. I always learned something. And then, these two gentlemen over all these decades, the amount of institutional knowledge and problem solving capability and relevance to, business owners, et cetera, to me just made it just extraordinary to be involved with you guys. So I think I mentioned this to Chairman Tankersley a number of months ago, and I really felt like, Commissioner Keys, of course, had similar characteristics, incredible intellect, and, always, fantastic on the risk management and the areas of ensuring. I never thought I would hear the word Lloyd's of London in a conversation for Mac Water and Light, but he brought, that insight and the ability that we use the absolute best possible ways, world-class possible ways to protect, the ratepayers and the system that we have right now. So I mentioned to Tom months ago that I felt like at that point, even though I was the towel boy for the team, we kind of had the dream team for a number of years with Keys and Gormley and Tankersley. And that's something that I'll always remember and always cherish. And now, even now going into the future, having Jody Christensen on the commission, I think it's fantastic that we have now, a closer method to look at what the state's thinking. And I think that's going to bring a lot of value, for the time that she's able, to commit to the commission. And I think you guys are in excellent hands. And the citizens are so blessed that, they have, Tom and Ed on there. And likewise, staff. I've been very, very pleased with staff. I'm sorry, I don't have 50 minutes to talk about each and every one of you, so I apologize about that. So I had to trim it down and make sure that I, mention my colleagues, which would be Ed and Tom. And so thankful that we got to have all that time together, and absolutely loved serving with you guys.
Well, thank you, Pat.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you, Patrick.
And Patrick, you mentioned something that I forgot to mention about you. You also were really good at bringing the entrepreneurial kind of impact of what we do, what the impact is on our small and growing businesses, and how we need to be fair and appropriate for them too. And I will miss that voice as well.
Well, you never know. Whomever you may get on the commission, you might be trading up. So
I don't think so.
I'm confident the mayor will appoint a very good person, Patrick, but trading up to you will be a tall order.
Well, you guys are very kind, and I have so much enjoyed all these years, and I love serving with you guys. And I've absolutely, it has been just really enjoyable staff, and quite a few of them are on this call right now on the Zoom meeting. But it's always been, professional, kind, willing to troubleshoot things, and I've just had a very positive experience with staff as well. So it's just, in the totality, the organization is fantastic. And, I don't know that the citizens necessarily know how good they have it with what Mac Water and Light has done over all these decades. And even I was thinking the other night about, the vision of the folks that came before us. And I know that I believe that in the 1800s, there were folks before you and Ed. And so, the vision they had with the watershed and how it is so well set up. I keep thinking, I'm the entrepreneur, I'm the business guy. No one can do it better than I can. And then I struggled trying to figure out if I could do whatever I wanted, could I do it better than what I see here? And I came to the conclusion that I could not. And that is a pretty impressive assessment of what the folks before us and the folks now over the many decades have served, and that is so extraordinary to me for the citizens of McMinnville.
And Patrick, you have been one of those people. I'm confident that future commissions will look back and say, those guys knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's, I think, why I mentioned the dream team thing. It's like, if I'm kind of the, junior partner or whatever in that, but boy, I tell you, to have that caliber of folks that genuinely care about the community and want to serve it and want to provide the best possible, electric and water service. It's just what a fantastic experience that I got to have. And I just want to thank all of you for that.
Thank you, Patrick.
So Patrick, going forward, I hope that I can see you more as we discussed this afternoon, as I cut back my workload. So I might hopefully see you out there more.
Yes. I did poorly as usual, but at least I.
Hey, well, that's what's fun.
Yes, exactly.
Well, Patrick, again, as your colleagues have indicated, your name is added to that legacy, which is Mac Water and Light. You brought so much to bear. John and I will reach out to you and give you a opportunity to receive kind of a token of our appreciation. We'll do that in the week to come. And again, thank you so very much, and all that you've brought to the table.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. And to Tom's point earlier, if there's something that comes up and you need particular expertise, I absolutely will make myself available, to advise if it is useful to the commission.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Excellent.
Will not.
Hey guys, have a great evening. Thanks again for everything.
See you, Pat. Take care.
See you.
Bye, Patrick.
Bye.
Okay. That takes us to our consent agenda tonight. We have 3 items on there. Are there any commissioners that would want to take anything off the consent agenda and put it on our regular agenda this evening?
No.
I have none and would be willing to make the motion if it's necessary.
Okay, go ahead.
I'd move to adopt the consent agenda then.
Second.
Been moved by Ed and seconded by Tom. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Consent agenda passes unanimously 3-0. That takes us to within.
Mr. Mayor, just for a second, I'm sorry to interrupt. I think we should put on the record, I forgot, I was going to do it, I think, that Patrick, this is all about because Patrick had retired from the commission as of December 31st.
Okay.
Yeah.
So have the record note that his retirement from the board was December 31st, 2020. Thank you, Tom. A part of our packet is the accounts payable and purchasing reports.
No issues.
I have a question, just a question.
Okay.
When I look at this, it appears that during this 1 month period, we paid payroll taxes 3 times. Do we normally do that?
3 payrolls. Could there have been 3 payrolls, 5-week month?
So we pay every payroll, we pay the payroll taxes. I just had never
As
looked.
big as we are, we probably would, I would think.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. That now takes us to our consultant and partners report. And so Brent, would you do your report for us?
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Happy New Year.
Same to you.
Everything's wrapped up out in the watershed for now. We received the final small payment for the last of the loads that were actually shipped quite a while back from the Boundary 300 Bald Mountain Road sale. So that's all wrapped up. And of course, we came out real good with in terms of the volume and the value and how that cut out. So it was a real good program last year. And now we're preparing for reforestation in the 3 sales. The one of the units in that boundary sale was 3 units, and that's a 2-year contract. They just finished it up. They're going to do the slash piling when it's drier. So we'll just plant that next year, which is no problem. But we'll be getting geared up to start planting 1st of February. Seedlings are getting lifted in the nurseries right now. So that's the plan there. And then 2021 stumpage sales are all set to go on the ground. And I'll be actually emailing out bid packages this year. And so we'll be doing a little different type of bid opening, but the bid opening will be February 10th on a Zoom virtual public type of scenario. So that's what I have.
Any questions for Brent? Go ahead, Tom.
Brent, so do I understand it correctly that on the Boundary 300 Bald Mountain sale, the piling didn't get done in time to plant this year, so we're going to lose a year of growth?
That's correct. It was a 2-year contract. They weren't sure they would even log that unit this year. They were because that's a 2-year contract. So they had thought about putting it off till next summer, and then the hemlock price went up. When OSG's log deck burned up in the fire, they raised their prices, and so then they got in there and logged that unit. So,
is there something we can do in future contracts so we don't lose a year of volume that way, a year of growth?
Well, it's kind of like the 720 road sale where they waited the full 2 years to get that done. The Boundary 300, they could have done that as well.
No, I realize that, but isn't it also harder to replant if you've waited a year because the brush has grown for a year and such?
Oh, I see what you mean. Having a unit cut and then sitting there part of the year.
Yeah.
Not so much, because what they do is not just pile the slash, they're also scarifying the brush as they go too. So, because we don't spray, so a lot like the 107 road sale, they spent a lot of time not just piling but scarifying with the machine, the salal and the brush as well. So
okay, but what I'm saying is that this is an example of where they so they'll scarify in the dry season. Is that right?
that's right. Yeah.
Okay, so we won't have a year of brush growth. We'll have 6 or 9 months of it, or up to 9 months of it, I guess, right?
Yeah, at the very most.
Would you just think about whether there's something we could put in the contract that encourages them to, if they're going to harvest in a year, that they have it ready to plant in the same year? Is that unreasonable?
No, or we could have, well, if they're gonna put off piling, they need to pile and scarify closer to the planting, like towards the end. And I could still work with them on, hey, if it's all the same to them, could you guys come back towards the end of next summer
Yeah, no, yeah, so let's fix that one that way. That would be great. But what I'm saying is in our contracts, could we
Sure.
require them that in the year of harvest that they leave it in the condition ready for planting and the immediately following planting season?
Right, okay,
Because
okay,
if we had that language here, then we would have had a year more growth, right?
right. Well, the gets a little tricky because they finished right at the end of
Okay, but
the dry season, and I think we can just be more aware of that.
Well,
And
yeah, what I would like to do is have you explore, please, whether maybe with Sam, whether there's language we put in the contract that wouldn't be a deal killer for somebody, that would say if they're going to harvest in a particular calendar year, it's got to be ready for replanting the following planting season, the February or March of the next year, whatever, January, February, or March.
sure, okay, yeah, we'll
Okay.
look at that.
Thank you.
The concern was this year is so wet that is,
Okay.
didn't want to kind of trying to balance the soil impact and some of those things.
Okay, we can, I mean, they can always come to us and say, we can do this, but we're going to compact your soil and you're just going to mess up your tree farm and your planting's not going to be as good. And we can then respond, okay, we can waive that. But I would like the general rule to be that if you harvest this year, we plant the following planting season.
Right. Okay. No, that sounds good. And then on this one, I'll just work with them to do
Yeah,
the piling
great.
later as late next year as possible.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Any other comments or questions?
No.
Thank you, Brent, for your report.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks. Next, we have appearance requests, and I don't see any. Staff reports, I don't see anything. We have one piece of old business, and that is our contract update with National Information Solutions Corp, NICSC. And so, John, could you update us on that?
Yes, good evening. At last commission meeting, I gave a presentation on the services we receive from National Information Solutions Cooperative, which is our business provider. And it was asked by commission to follow up with neighboring utilities and what business software those folks use. And in the memo provided there, you'll see the utilities that I was able to get in touch with. Few of them, there's one that had, I think Professional Computer Systems was the only one that was duplicated. But other than that, each one had a different business provider. I listed on there kind of the main things that they look at. I was pretty surprised that half of those were already in process of what, similar to what we're looking at here, just to kind of verify what we're using as the best. And there's nothing else, no other pink unicorns out there, I think is what was mentioned last time. But 3 of them are looking to move on from what their current provider is just because of some issues they've had or knowing that there's some other things out there that might be better. Some of the other ones I found are kind of more tailored for an actual municipality that's more of a city-based. So they might have more like street tickets and a lot more things that aren't really familiar to us on there. So some of those folks work perfect for their business needs. Another interesting thing I found was it was hard to find utilities that didn't already have NIC. As you can see, the numbers I've got down there, almost, in fact, half of the consumer-owned utilities here use NIC already in Oregon, and over half in Washington use NIC already. So kind of in my findings, I didn't see anything out there of the pink unicorn flavor that is outperforming NIC or that missing gem that we should go out and attack and try and use. And I guess I could open that up for any questions that anyone might have.
John, I just want to thank you for the thoroughness. I was tickled when I read the report, and you confirmed you gave us the information, and it would appear that we're in the right course and need to stay the course. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you, Ed. Tom, any comments?
Yeah, I agree with Ed. I'm aware of the huge problems we have changing, but I thought we should look at it, and you've looked at it carefully and thoroughly, and I'm satisfied that we need to stay with NASC.
Perfect.
So thank you, John.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, John. Okay, that takes us to new business, and the first on the agenda is the election of commission chair and clerk. And Sam, do I turn that over to you?
Well, you can. You're the mayor. This is January, so we need to elect a commission chair and also a clerk. And so I guess floor is open for discussion and any nominations. And I guess we could start with clerk. I think we have one likely candidate.
I'm quite pleased with our current clerk, and I wonder if we could have her be clerk again.
I think you have the authority, Mr. Chairman, to do that.
Okay, so we have Trina's name up for clerk. And so we will, we've had a motion, and I'd say a second. And so do we do a poll on this, or just
I think we just a vote. I think we don't have a resolution for it.
all those in favor of having Trina continue as the court of the commission, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Heck, yes.
Heck yes. Trina, congratulations.
So, Mr. Mayor, in light of teams and that, and Patrick mentioned the dream team, teams have to be run by experienced chair people, wouldn't you say? So I
Absolutely.
think it's only appropriate that we keep our dear friend, Mr. Tankersley, as chairman. So I'd move for him to continue as chair and let him not have a vote in the matter.
And
Or a say, maybe a say.
I would second that, and then I will note for the record, Jody Christensen has come on, so we have
Oh,
a
good.
commissioner. And so before us is we have it has been moved and seconded that we have Tom Tankersley continue as the chair of the commission of the McMinnville Water and Light. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 And so we have the election of the chair and the clerk. Thank
Tom,
you.
any of your comments about the year ahead, what your plans are, or appointments?
I'm planning to let our staff continue to do their wonderful job, and hopefully they can all do it working together after they get vaccinated here and the COVID thing settles down. And I'm looking forward to a new commissioner. Again, I'm very sorry that Patrick is leaving, but he served long and well, so.
Absolutely. Okay, that brings us to the next. We have a COVID-19 update extension of emergency declaration. John Dietz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So again, the governor has extended the declaration of emergency to March 3rd. At this point, with the way the vaccinations are going, I would expect that to continue after March 3rd. And Jody, I would, yeah. I do know that Secretary of Energy has sent a letter to the governor's office about vaccination priority for critical infrastructure workers, which would be our staff, both water and electric. We've been pushing on that pretty hard through our representatives and FERC. We believe that that's a priority because of the work that our staff does. So we'll continue with that. We have additionally brought a few additional employees back to the office, primarily those employees that have a private office. Anyone that is in a common area is required to wear a mask and maintain 6 feet. So that protocol will continue. We have had one additional COVID case within the utility. That individual is actually back to work and was isolated to that individual only. That did not spread to any employees within the organization. I'd also add that Currently, construction still continues. We've started, the contractor started work at Baker Creek with the expansion of the substation. You have before you tonight some additional documents for the 3 Mile Lane Bridge project that will be getting started here in the next probably 30 to 60 days. I know ODOT is planning to open bids here in the next week or two. And disconnects, we only have, as of the writing of this, we've had one customer off for disconnect for non-pay is all. We seem to be in a mode where people seem to understand and are making payments or making arrangements with us. And I think that's worked very well. I have not heard of any complaints from our customers, so that seems to be working. You'll see also that total fees from March that the commission has waived to date is just under $425,000. Those fees obviously are going back to our customers. And I think, a lot of other utilities are not waiving those fees anymore, but we still continue. And I think that is important for our customers to continue doing that, at least through the end of the emergency. So I believe what you have before you is a resolution. And Sam, if you want to take that one.
And Trina, do you have a number for me?
Uno.
Number one.
Number one. Okay, well, gee whiz, I should have known that. Okay, this is a resolution by the City of McMinnville Municipal Corporation of the State of Oregon acting by and through its Water and Light Commission, declaring extending a state of emergency with regard to operation of the water and light plants of the City of McMinnville. That's resolution 2021-1.
You're muted, Mr. Mayor.
That helps. Thank you, Sam. Do we have a motion to accept
So moved.
and a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved by Ed, seconded by Jody. We'll turn to Trina to poll the commission.
Mayor Hill,
Yes?
Commissioner Tankersley,
Yes,
Commissioner Gormley,
Yes.
Commissioner Christensen.
Yes.
And so resolution number 2021-01 passes unanimously 4-0. That takes us to our next item this evening, and that is customers helping customers. And this is a program update. And John Spence, would you update us?
Yes. So staff's looking for some more direction from commission. As you guys voted, I think it was at the April 21st meeting, the 3-to-1 ratio for matching customers helping customers program ended at the end of 2020, along with the match of 20,000 escalated up to 40,000. So just bringing you some new numbers, the staff is looking to recommend going back to that 3-to-1 matching. Years prior to that 3-to-1 match, the 20,000 limit that the commission approved to match those funds was rarely hit. I think we hit it once, maybe twice in a period of 10 years. If we were to look to make that ratio back to that 3-to-1, now with the water and the electric, which prior was just electric only prior to COVID, which you guys voted in as well. So this memo is looking to recommend that 3-to-1 match, at least for the rest of this year, kind of take a site and see how that does, and see how fast we hit that maximum donation again with the matching of 3-to-1 as opposed to a 1-to-1.
Any questions for John?
No, I'm tickled that staff's come back to us asking us to enact it once again. So whenever you need a motion, I'd be happy to make that.
and John, as I understand it, you've gone through, it looks like you've gone through and you've done the calculations we asked you to do last time, and
Yes.
it's quite close to the 5-to-1. Or
Yep,
one-
they used the same numbers, removed sewer from the total, and as you can see, it was just a little bit above the approved match that was before for $3.
Okay, I'm happy, and it's much easier if you do the rounded split than to have the 2
Yes.
cents on each one.
We'll try and take it easy on accounting a little bit.
Good, I'm happy. Thank you. I'm happy with this.
So Ed, you were going to move
Also move.
and a second?
I'll
Second.
second.
It's
Right,
moved.
and I understand that motion is that last sentence of the staff report that is recommending a 3-to-1 water and light match with a maximum limit of $20,000 for calendar year 2021.
Yes.
I thought we were doing 40.
Recommendation was to keep it the 20 and just to see if the 3-to-1 match, how that hits. The 40,000, I think, was just to the end of the calendar year. I think staff would like to see the 3-to-1 and see how long it takes us to get to that 20,000. We can always come back if we hit it really soon and ask for an additional.
Okay, I'll so modify it.
Okay, the motion's been modified and seconded, modified by Ed and seconded by Tom. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The continuation of customers helping customers 3-to-1 with a max of 20,000 has passed unanimously 4-0. Okay, that takes us to the personal services contract for,
Excuse me, Scott, excuse me for a second. Is the city going to continue their match? Do you know?
we've not met and had this on the agenda, but I will put it down and follow up
Great.
I
thank you.
know,
on Monday.
yeah, I know Jeff, we've talked to Jeff about that, but we just haven't heard back yet.
Yeah, I know we've been really pretty busy with a lot of things, so I'll put it on my agenda to talk about on Monday.
Great. Thank you.
The city's finance director shared with me that it was a 2021 budget item. And so she indicated that she thought it was through the end of this budget year, which would put it through June 30th.
Oh, great.
20.
Good.
So it'd be the fiscal year.
Yeah.
Okay, then let's move on to the personal services contract for electric cost of services analysis. And Jamie, if you would address that.
Sure, good evening. This evening, staff is seeking commission consideration and approval of a personal service agreement with Utility Financial Solutions to perform an electric cost of service study and update, and also an updated 2-year rate design. We're currently underway in process of the BPA rate period for rate period 22. Anticipate rates to be finalized later in the summer, and in response, we need to update our cost of service model and our electric rate design. So this agreement would accomplish that, as we have in the past with Utility Financial Solutions. As you know, they have a history with Water and Light of performing these updates and provide a wealth of experience and knowledge and expertise to our utility for updating our cost of service. The proposal for these services totals $29,700 and will include 5-year financial projection, 2-year rate design, and a model update. We have a couple specific items unique to this update, including a review of our payment in lieu of tax calculation, the development of a joint use conduit rate, and a review of some of our residential rate design particulars. Questions?
Any questions for Jamie? Go ahead, Ed.
No questions.
Okay.
I have a quick question. Is this within the limit where we don't have to make findings that I'm confident that these are the people we should use because they know what they're doing and they know our system, but do we have to make specific findings, Sam?
Tom, this is we've deemed this to be a personal services contract. So the commission has authority, it's given itself authority under its contracting rules to select personal service providers without competition. So you have a trust relationship with Utility Financial Solutions you developed over the course of years. And so in this, so much as a personal services contract, you can do it without competing it. It has to go to the commission because it's over $10,000, unlike, for example, engineering contracts where John has authority up to $100,000. A personal service contract, except for the very small ones, have to come to the commission for approval. So,
Okay. And for the record, I'm quite happy. I think they've earned our trust over the years, and I know that they have expertise because APPA uses him as a speaker at every conference I've been to for the last 15 years anyway, I think. So, I would move that we authorize the mayor and the clerk to sign the personal services contract as submitted.
right. And I understand you'll be directing staff prepare that contract and for a contract price of $29,700.
Yes.
Thank you.
Second.
It's been moved by Tom, seconded by Ed. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? This motion passes unanimously 4-0. That takes us to our next item, which is amendment number 4 to subgrant agreement on the CARES Act with the city of McMinnville. Mark, could you update us on that?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So good evening, commissioners. For your approval this evening is our 5th CARES Act reimbursement request. It's our 4th amendment to the subgrant agreement with the city, and it'll likely be our last reimbursement request. The city's allotment from the state, which is based on population, was just over 1.4 million. And in talking to the city's finance director, this request, which is 72,500, a little over that, 539, that'll bring us to, if approved, brings us to 335,000 total. So that's around just under 25% of the city's 1.4 million amount. And so just in talking with the city and the expenses that they need to have reimbursed without doing a proration, this is probably our last one. And we're kind of at the tail end of our expenses. So the timing is pretty good. If that ceiling amount, that 1.4 million that the city has allocated, if that were to increase, we do actually have additional time for expenses because of the December, the stimulus package that was passed in December by Congress. So anyway, so we'll kind of watch that, but this is likely going to be our last request. Like I mentioned, it's 72,539, puts our total at 335 if approved. About 85% of our total is made up of payroll and credit card reimbursements, the convenience fees. And those are each very close at about 143,000 each. So, so staff's recommending approval of this reimbursement request, the 4th amendment to the subgrant agreement. Take any questions if there are any.
Okay, any questions for Mark?
No.
Hearing none, I will ask for a motion.
And I have a resolution for this, Mr. Mayor. It's resolution number 2020 or 2021-2. I'll read it by title only. Resolution authorizing approving amendment number 4 to subgrant agreement between the city of McMinnville and the city of McMinnville acting by and through its Water and Light Commission, provide funding from the CARES Act grant. Also note that in the amendment document, we are going to correct a typo that's in paragraph 1. there's a reference to recital C, which is correct. However, the outline feature of Word kept throwing that C back to a D. And so we're going to correct that to C in the body of that paragraph. And Trina will make that correction when the mayor signs the document.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
I'll
I so
move.
move. Oh,
Second.
go ahead.
I have a motion by Jody and a second by Ed. Trina, could you poll the commission?
Mayor Hill,
Yes?
Commissioner Tankersley,
Yes,
Commissioner Gormley,
Yes.
Commissioner Christensen.
Yes.
And so resolution 2021-02 passes unanimously 4-0. That takes us to an intergovernmental agreement, public procurement authorization, and Chad will have you do that. Chad, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Good evening. Tonight, we're seeking commission consideration to enter a participating agency authorization endorsement with the Public Procurement Authority. What that enables us to do by signing this is it gives us basically another tool in our toolbox. It opens up some cooperative contracts we could potentially use through PPA. One thing that's kind of nice about PPA is it is based in Oregon, which most of them are not. And so they go by the Oregon Public Procurement Code, which makes it really beneficial to us. And so that's nice. So what we're looking for is authorization to enter this, which would actually enable us to use other cooperative contracts. And I guess that would be part number one.
Okay.
Interesting bonus program you have there. So many points towards an Altec boom truck.
Yes. Yeah, it is a good deal as far as that goes.
And I'll just
Questions?
I'll just chime in as a clarifying matter. What you see in your materials, there's a resolution, and the resolution kind of takes care of both items. It takes care of giving authority to enter into the intergovernmental cooperative procurement agreement. It also gives authority for the master agreement with J.J. Kane, which relates to this particular item, the sale of the heavy truck that kills both birds with one stone.
I'll move the motions necessary.
I have a resolution, and
Okay.
so I could, when you're ready, if you don't have any more questions, or if you have any questions, please submit them to
No
Chad.
question.
Okay. I'll read it by title only. Resolution number 2021-3, a resolution by the City of McMinnville acting by through its Water and Light Commission to authorize and endorse an agreement with the Public Procurement Authority and approve of a contract for government auction services. That's with J.J. Kane.
Thank you, Sam. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
A
I'll second.
Been moved by Ed and seconded by Jody. Trina, could you poll the council on resolution number 2021-03?
Mayor Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Tankersley,
yes,
Commissioner Gormley,
Yes.
Commissioner Christensen.
Yes.
Well, resolution number 2021-03 passes 4-0. That takes us to the next item, which is a BPA network operating contract number 20TX-16910. Jamie?
Yes, so this contract is what we're going to call the network operating agreement, contract 20TX-16910. 0. Staff is seeking commission consideration of a resolution authorizing and approving this contract. What it will replace is our current network operating agreement, which is Exhibit C of our transmission agreement. The terms and conditions of this contract were settled in a rate case 2 years ago with BPA called the Terms and Conditions 2020 rate case. And this is BPA's catching up to the results of that rate case. So there's no impact to costs. It's simply a housekeeping item to update our NOA with BPA. So BPA offers this now as a standalone agreement, hence the new contract number. And we, following commission agenda item, will update Exhibit C of our transmission agreement. I believe we have a resolution.
We do. And so any questions for Jamie? Go ahead, Tom.
Jamie, real quickly, is this the same as the attachment to our existing agreement, just in a standalone version, or are there changes?
They've made some, there are some subtle changes. All that language was settled in the TC20 rate case 2 years ago. Nothing substantial. It offers maybe more protections for the customer and aligns with the Federal Power Act 212 process. So it's nothing real exciting.
Okay, but I just want to make sure there was nothing real exciting in there that we should worry about. Okay, great.
No, there is not.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, Sam, could you read the resolution by title only?
Certainly. This is resolution number 2021-4, a resolution authorizing and approving the network operating agreement, contract number 20TX16910, entered into between the city of McMinnville, acting by and through its Water Commission, hereinafter referred to as McMinnville, and the United States Department of Energy, acting by and through the Bonneville Power Administration, hereinafter referred to as BPA.
Thank you, Sam. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Tom and seconded by Ed. Trina, could you poll the commission?
Mayor Hill,
Yes?
Commissioner Tankersley,
Yes.
Commissioner Gormley,
Yes.
Commissioner Christensen.
Yes.
Resolution 2021-4 passes unanimously 4-0. That takes us to our next item is revision number 1 to exhibits B and C of the BPA Network Integration and Transmission Service Agreement, contract number 02TX-10856. Jamie, could you run us through that one?
Sure. So these exhibit revisions are a result of our new network operating agreement. And so these exhibit revisions will affect our current network transmission agreement, contract 02TX-10856. Revision number 1 to exhibit B replaces the existing exhibit B in its entirety and simply allows for, it updates the contact and notification section, allowing for electronic communication. Revision number 1 to exhibit C replaces current exhibit C in its entirety. That exhibit C will no longer be applicable to the agreement, now being replaced by the network operating agreement. Any questions?
Any questions for Jamie on this revision of exhibits?
Nope.
Hearing none, then Sam, could you read this by title only?
Yes. This is resolution number 2021-5, a resolution authorizing and approving revisions number 1 to exhibits B and C of the Network Integration Transmission Service Agreement, contract number 02TX10856, entered into between the City of McMinnville, acting by and through its Water and Light Commission, hereafter referred to as McMinnville, and the United States Department of Energy, acting by and through the Bonneville Power Administration, hereafter referred to as BPA.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
So
So
moved.
move.
Second?
It's been moved by Jody and seconded by Ed. Trina, could you poll the commission?
Mayor Hill,
Yes?
Commissioner Tankersley,
Yes.
Commissioner Gormley,
Yes.
Commissioner Christensen.
Yes.
Resolution number 2021-05 passes unanimously 4-0. That takes us to our next item on our agenda this evening, the annual review of identity theft prevention program. And John Spence, we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. As part of the Identity Theft Prevention Program, staff brings back an annual report to the commission. Since it was adopted last year, still kind of fresh, so not really many, in fact, no changes recommended to the program. Wanted to just share with you a couple things that we did since COVID, just some changes that we saw needed to be made. One was with access being restricted to employees only in the building, we needed to find a secure way to get our documents out to the shred company to be shredded. So we found an avenue that worked with that, working with the vendor. So they are back coming twice a month back to normal, and we just deliver stuff outside in a secure locked trash can basically looking, and he just takes it, swaps it out, and then he shreds the stuff out there. For a period we were overflowing a little bit, and I think it was getting dangerously close to having those documents just kind of flowing around. So we addressed that one pretty quick. The other item that we worked with IT actually to make sure we had a secure portal online to have customers submit documentation since our lobby's closed. They can email stuff to sign up for service. We didn't really have a very good online presence to submit those kind of documents, but doing that, working with IT, we kind of fixed that. So we now have a place to securely submit documentation. The program that was adopted in last January is attached as well. If there's any questions, I'd love to answer those.
Any questions for John from the commission?
No, I don't have any questions.
This isn't a question, but John, I really appreciate the way you attach that document so we can take a look at it and think about it before the meeting. So thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. It was highly recommended I do so.
Good idea.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's move to our next item. The next is an update to cybersecurity policy. Thad, if you would update us on this.
Thank you, Mayor. I bring back this amendment forward to specifically address page 6 on our cybersecurity policy. After reviewing it, I felt like the hardware and software that was outlined in the original was a little vague, so I more specifically identified what hardware and software should be tracked, as well as within the fields that are tracking, it was previously stated to keep track of the data purchase and the amount. I feel like that's not necessary in the spirit of this policy, so this amendment is to address what is significant software, what is significant hardware, as well as remove those 2 points for tracking.
Okay. Any questions for Thad? On page 6.
On page 6.
Hearing none, then Sam, could you read this resolution by title only?
Yes. This is resolution number 2021-6, a resolution by the City of McMinnville acting by and through its Water and Light Commission adopting amendment number 1 to the cybersecurity policy.
Thank you.
Move for the adoption.
And
I'll second.
it's been moved by Ed and seconded by Jody. Trina, could you poll the commission?
Mayor Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Tankersley,
Yes.
Commissioner Gormley,
Yes.
Commissioner Christensen.
Yes.
Resolution number 2021-06 passes unanimously 4-0. Thank you. This takes us to the last item of new business this evening, which is an ODOT utility agreement on the 3 Mile Lane Bridge. And James and Sam, if you could run us through this.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So there's a lot of information here. So if you have questions, feel free to interrupt and we can address those as they kind of pop up here. But before you tonight are 2 agreements between McMinnville Water and Light and Oregon Department of Transportation for the 3 Mile Bridge. Oregon Department of Transportation currently has this project out to bid. The bid is due January 28th, and construction, as John mentioned, is anticipated to start spring of 2021, coming up here soon. So the project includes the installation of a new 12-inch ductile water main that's going to be located on the bridge, 4-inch diameter steel conduits for power, and 2-inch diameter steel conduits for fiber optics. The state will be covering the costs for the illumination system, the streetlights on that bridge, and McMinnville Water and Light will be taking ownership of the illumination system and all of our assets at the completion of the project. McMinnville Water and Light also, through our agreements with Dow, have obtained inspectors and engineering support for the inspection of our utilities on the bridge during construction, and we'll have our staff also on site to view those that construction. So the first agreement before you tonight is the utility agreement. This agreement is for the construction portion of the project for the water, electrical, and fiber utilities, and agreeing to obligations including financial amount of $1,250,487. So this utility agreement came to commission at the last commission meeting as a draft agreement. It was approved with conditions that only non-material revisions be accepted. Since that last meeting, there's been some material revisions to that agreement that have been adopted. That entailed some revisions that have been put forth, and some discussions took place between Department of Transportation, Department of Justice, as well as McMinnville Water and Light General Counsel. And I believe Sam, Mr. Justice can talk to us a little bit, but the city was tied into this as well. So they'll be seeing these 2 agreements that are coming forth tonight. They're going to mirror what the city of McMinnville will be seeing at their next council meeting. So we're bringing the utility agreement back for approval for commission. And then if you recall at the last commission meeting, we also discussed how we want to do this payment process. So in this utility agreement, ODOT requires either an advance deposit or a letter of credit in the full amount. We had gotten direction from commission that the advance deposit is what we want to proceed with for this piece. At this point, I can open it up if there's any questions on the utility agreement, and then we can move into the maintenance section of the agreement if that's what we choose to do so.
So James, just not so much about the agreement, but about the physical aspects of what's going to happen. Is the bridge being built adjacent to the existing structure, or is the old structure coming down, or do you know what the sequence of construction is?
Now, my understanding is the old structure is coming down. They'll be putting a temporary bridge up, and then there'll be the new bridge will be offset a bit from where the existing bridge is.
So the current utilities are underground, correct, under the river?
The current water utility goes under the river, and then we have other utilities up there, electrical and fiber also, that are not attached to the bridge.
Okay. So a third party then will be doing the installation of water line with the bridge construction, correct?
It'll run concurrently, and it's an ODOT project. So this agreement basically has ODOT doing the administration for this project. We will be doing our own inspections on the bridge. We'll be verifying that the quantities are correct to pay, and that it's installed based on our inspections, but they'll be actually administering the contract.
So will they connect to our existing lines, or do we have to bring the lines over to the bridge, or what involvement do we have with the construction physically?
For the water portion, we'll be for electrical as well. For water, we're connecting to the existing lines out there.
Say that one again.
For water, we are connecting to our existing lines.
Okay, so will they run over to them, or do we have to run to the bridge? The
we will-
contractor will come to our line.
So we will be actually going off the new bridge, and there's about 500, 600 feet off the bridge will be going on each side. So 300 feet on each side of the bridge will be doing some open excavation out there to connect to our utilities.
All right. So I see trees being cut down below the bridge right now. Is that some of the construction area there?
That
You
is,
seen that?
I have.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where the temporary structure will be built, Ed.
Okay. Okay, James, thank you. Appreciate the information.
Any other questions on the utility agreement?
Okay, so for the maintenance portion of it, so after construction, we enter into the maintenance portion of it where McMinnville Water and Light basically takes on those assets, including the illumination, which are the street lights out there. And that's basically, it allows us to go out there and work on our utilities. And that's kind of where that comes into play for the fiber optics, the water and electrical conduits. It's a pretty standard agreement they have on the maintenance side. It's a template that doesn't give you a whole lot of room to add or remove things to it. So, and then tonight, Mr. Justice came up with a resolution also that if you want to read that, that would be great. And did you want to talk to that?
Let's see if we have any questions on the maintenance agreement. If not, we have two resolutions this evening. And so Sam, could you read the utility resolution first by title only?
Right, and if you have questions, and I have the first resolution relates to both the utility agreement and to the maintenance agreement. And then I will explain the purpose of the second resolution.
Okay.
I have a quick question here.
Sure.
Are we paying for the power for the lights, or is the city?
That will be included in our rental rate that we have, municipal lighting rate.
Okay, so when this says that we're responsible for all costs, including power to operate the complete system agency, so that's us?
So we will charge the city for those lights. They're decorative lights, and we'll charge them in our rental rate for the lights.
Okay, that's okay. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, Sam.
This is resolution number 2021-7. 7, a resolution authorizing and approving agreements between the state of Oregon acting by the Department of Transportation and the city of McMinnville acting by and through its Water and Light Commission regarding construction and maintenance of utilities on the 3 Mile Lane Bridge.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll second.
And it's been moved by Tom and seconded by Jody. Trina, could you poll the commission?
Mayor Hill,
Yes?
Commissioner Tankersley,
Yes?
Commissioner Gormley,
Yes.
Commissioner Christensen.
Yes.
Resolution 2021-07 passes unanimously 4-0. Sam, then if you take us to the maintenance agreement and that resolution.
Yes, and actually this resolution took care of both of those agreements, both the construction and the maintenance. The second resolution relates to the bonding requirement for the utility agreement. In our discussions with ODOT and Department of Justice, we requested that Water and Light be named as an obligee on the bonds. And ODOT and DOJ told us they wouldn't do that. And so we're not named on the bonds. And so as you can see in the memorandum indicated, well, I think this is legally sufficient. It also puts us in the position of depending on ODOT to enforce our bond rights. And so what I'm suggesting that the commission do is, for purposes of this contract, take an exemption from the requirement that Water and Light be named on the performance and payment bonds. Not that the bonds exist, but that Water and Light be named on those bonds. Because as we understand it, talking to ODOT and DOJ, Water and Light will not be named on the bonds. And as the local contracting board for Water and Light, you do have the authority to exempt yourself from that requirement. And I recommend that you do so in this case.
And Sam, the reason we would exempt ourselves here as opposed to other times is that unlike another contractor we might be dealing with, our contract is with ODOT in the state of Oregon, probably is good for the money. So it's really not, it's not worth jeopardizing the relationship or having a
Right.
if they won't agree to it, then we're better off to deal directly with them rather than a bonding company if there is a problem.
I would agree. I would say in this instance, the risk of loss is really low. But it's sort of, but the cost of passing a resolution is also really low. So probably my recommendation is just go ahead and do it.
Okay.
I would move to adopt the recommendation from our attorney then.
So this is resolution number 2021-8, a resolution by the city of McMinnville acting by and through its Water and Light Commission, taking a limited exception from the bonding requirement of ORS 279C-380.
Mr. Mayor, I'd move for the adoption.
Second,
I'll second.
it's been moved by Ed and seconded by Jody. Trina, could you poll the commission?
Mayor Hill,
Yes?
Commissioner Tankersley,
Yes.
Commissioner Gormley,
Yes.
Commissioner Christensen.
Yes.
Resolution 2021-08 passes unanimously 4-0. We are now going to move into executive session pursuant to ORS 192.6602F to consider financial and records that are exempt from public disclosure under ORS 192.50123 relating to identifying security measures, individuals, building, and information processing. So I'll call us into executive session, and Trina, could you